So as of today, there was a big announcement. The US and China came to an agreement on this big word tariffs that we've been working with. If you watched our video from a few weeks ago, I mentioned the word tariffs. We talked about the ramifications it could have on building and on real estate. But there's one thing that Chris and I both agreed on, and we've been wrong before, but we've also been right, was this word tariffs probably by the end of the year wasn't going to be used as much in our vocabulary. And I think what happened today with China and the US, which was the main two counterparts for everything else to fall into line, really showed that not only is it showing that it's going to make a very positive impact on all economies, including real estate and construction, but while all this confusion has been going on, there has been a secret real estate boom. And we've talked a little bit about this, but during the times of uncertainty, it's normally the newer, less experienced investors hold on the sidelines. They're not used to what's happening, and when there's such lack of visibility, it's hard to make the right choices. But people like Warren Buffett and other larger investors are very active during periods like this. Why? Because they see opportunity. And Chris, you've been quietly watching a very large opportunity and upwelling come to us through Southern Impression Homes that a lot of people haven't seen, but the numbers don't lie. So what's been happening more on the institutional side, let's say in the last 6 to 12 months compared to the last 3 years?
Yeah. First of all, we'll go back to 3 years first. We were obviously all going along our day-to-day business, and things were booming in up until mid 2022. We had signing regular contracts with institutional investors, having us build out full communities for them. But in mid 22, the faucet just stopped. We did not sign another fee build contract for all of the remainder of 2022, so from mid-22 until the end of the year. And then I'd say for probably the next 9 months into 23. Did not see a single institutional investor sign one contract with us anyway. Then all of a sudden, it just started popping off again with these institutional folks. They're looking at different numbers than the rest of us. And I shouldn't say different, it's out there for all of us. But they're trying to read the tea leaves much further into the future. We really look 1 to 2 years into the future to try and tell our clients what we think is going to be coming very soon. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're really taking a longer term approach, which is really how money's made in real estate. And they are looking at these overall trends and the big pullback in permits that has happened on the multifamily side of the equation. And this new, really even a new product type has come out that is very small cottages, similar to our duplex product.
Yeah,
a lot of duplexes, quadruplexes, in this 700 to 1,100 square foot range. And they've been just coming online left, right, and sideways. So we just signed a 120 unit deal in Gainesville, 224 unit deal in Ocala. We're about to sign a 250 unit deal in Naples. Just did one in Daytona that's, we signed this one probably 6 months ago. It's another 236 homes, 182 units in Jacksonville, another 250 in Savannah, another 112 in Charlotte, North Carolina, 148 in Austin, Texas. And of all of the product that I just mentioned, the list goes on and on and on, the vast majority of it is either townhomes or smaller cottages.
Interesting.
And what I hear consistently, because these people are backed by big companies, they're backed by some names that you would recognize out in the in the Wall Street circuit, and they all really have had the same theory, which is we're going to struggle through 25 from a rent growth standpoint. 26 is going to be much better, and 27 is really going to be through the roof. And so they're trying to time these completions of these projects to hit that 27, 28 boom so that they can realize that big uptick in rental growth that's more than what they have in their current performance.
I mean, it's incredible, Chris, because you and I usually work in two different sectors of what we're researching. You're more in the building side, and I'm more in the what's happening in the client market side of things. And there's just been a ton of questions that have come at me on podcasts, webinars, that we heard Florida is over. The ride in Florida is over. The growth in Florida has ended. And it really always baffled me, because I'm meeting with you, at least once a week, and you're saying we got another fee build here. And what I always say is these guys have a lot bigger research departments than we do. We deliver the product and have our expertise, but they, like you said, have access to a lot of money, and they also take a lot of responsibility with this money and a lot of analytics. And for them to be putting this many units on the ground, I've always said I just want to be the little fish swimming next to the big fish. And when they're coming off, I always use these numbers and say, if this many is being built, do you think they know something that's about to come down the line? And I think that's really important for things to see. And that's the quiet boom. That's the secret boom that we're seeing here, is the institutions that were on the sidelines for about 2 years, from mid-2022 to about mid-last year, have quietly come off. They're building, they're taking action. Well, there's all this confusion in the market, from change of presidency to new regulations, tariffs, unknowns, and they are quietly building because they believe that once that we end this year, by the end of this year, that shortage of inventory is only going to get worse. The growth patterns are continuing to some key markets, all that you named in Texas, North Carolina, Florida. They are going to recontinue, and the musical chairs are going to stop. That COVID inventory that came out, that took a little more absorption time and flooded the market for a short term, and is now really being absorbed. There's nothing behind it. And you can't just restart the engine that quick. There's a process that will take, like you said, at least 2 years to re-rev that engine. So this secret boom is something we're very excited about. And what Chris said too, which I really like, is that smaller cottage fits right in with what we do. Because again, remember, our single family homes are starter single family homes, sometimes as small as a little over 1,200 square feet. That is something most of the nationals don't want to build. Our duplex, well, that's an even smaller at cottage style, real cottage style in a single family home neighborhood, still filling that same niche of the market that these institutions are wanting to get. You can be there individually in a single family home market to get these same returns. The quad the same way. It's still affordable, not to the apartment size, but also a little more of a residential feel. So we feel like we're geared up pretty nicely next to their research for our individual investors as well.
Absolutely. And I think you hit a couple key points there. One is the smaller size. Everybody, sees that affordability is going to continue to be a problem.
Absolutely.
So, the rents, the rents, the tenants have to be able to afford the rents on these homes, and the cost to build a home has gone up, and it's just not coming back down. So the only way to solve for that is a smaller unit, and and I think the institutions, absolutely see that. But then to your point about population growth, I mean, at the end of the day, that's the beauty about Florida is, and Florida has gone, in cycles of, overbuilding and underbuilding and overbuilding and underbuilding. It's the pendulum swings wildly back and forth in Florida, but the fact that it's not that concerning to the institutional investors really comes down to one thing, and it's population growth.
Yep.
So it's even in the times when it's slightly overbuilt, which in fairness, there's some parts of Florida, like Southwest Florida right now, it's slightly overbuilt.
Yeah.
That happens. But because people continue to come, it's not a forever thing.
The absorption continues, it just at a slower pace. And again, we've never seen anything quite like that COVID inventory that came out. You have to realize that we all were waiting for materials for mid-20 to mid-2021. When materials finally started to come back online, the supply chains were reopened, everyone built, and then everyone finished their product and put it on the market. Now, luckily, we're about 1.5 years through that now, and we're in that last probably 6-month stage of working through that, and the absorption is speeding up. So it'll be very interesting, like we saw from the Fed charts that we've shown in a couple other videos, where are we going to be at by this fall? And if we are where we think we're going to be, that's why we're encouraging people to look at the secret boom. Who is coming off the sidelines right now that might know what's happening and also might have a good track record of making money. I can tell you these institutions that we're working with, they're not only well financed, they're well researched. And so it's always a great thing to be building for them, but also investing for you guys in what we do. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Talk to your property counselors on this. This word tariffs, like we said, I'm going to double down on this. I do not think this word is going to be as important by the time we're toasting you guys for the holidays. I just don't think it's going to be here. I think things are going to be settled. I think this was a negotiation tactic, which we're seeing. The US-China thing today was huge, and it's creating an incredible opportunity where the engine is going to be re-revved very quickly with something that is in short supply right now, and that's inventory. So I don't know if you have anything to add with that.
I think that covers it.
Yeah. So be aware of what's happening. Being on the sidelines is not always a bad thing, but when there's uncertainty and there's underlying fundamentals that can work for you, it's something you want to look at. So follow this secret boom, see what the large institutions are doing. I suggest you be that little fish, follow them. We'll be here to help you. So it's good talking, take care.